So, hey guys, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm going to be telling you about this new film called The Drop. It is based off a Dennis Lehan story who's worked on other stories that have been made into movies. He's made, well, not really made, he's wrote for people like, Clint Eastwood, who made Mystic River, and he wrote Shutter Island for Martin Scorsese, and he also wrote Gone Baby Gone for Ben Affleck. So obviously he's written for a lot of really big directors. And some of those films became really big, and while other ones did not. Um, and so for the drop, you guys, unfortunately, the director of this film I don't really know too well. Um, but the drop is centered around a guy who runs a bar. He's a bartender, played by Tom Hardy, and then there's like this ex criminal played by James Gandolfini, and he's had this life of crime, and people used to fear him, and but at the same time, later in his life, he kind of got out of that image, and he kind of became this really likable guy in the bar, and him and Tom Hardy work really well together at this bar. But it's also a drop bar, and when the film talks about this very early on, the drop bar of a community means that a lot of criminals like to hide money in that place for whenever they like robbed a bank or stole a lot of money from somebody. And so basically, they would hide money in these bars. And so their bar was obviously one of these drop bars that they were using. And the place gets robbed. The people who were expecting to grab that money, they don't have that money now since the place got robbed. And so basically throughout the movie they're trying to figure out how they can get this money back, who stole the money, why they would take it. And while all that's going on, Tom Hardy's character basically rescues a dog from a garbage bin, and the woman who was kind of near where the garbage bin was, where this or the trash can I should say, where this dog was. Him and this woman basically raised the dog together, since they kind of found him, feel guilty that whoever did this to him put him there, and hurt the dog. And so basically, it's about him trying to figure out what to do with this dog. Is he going to give it to the Humane Society? Is he going to let someone else take it? And so there's something going on based that's also connected to the drop from earlier in the movie. This money drop gone wrong at their bar, and so basically all this kind of stuff's going on. And so basically they're trying to figure out how they can get out of this, while Tom Hardy also has to deal with this dog in the meantime as well. So the drop, you guys, I was not too. I'm not gonna go full on say I didn't like it, but at the same time, I really can't say I really enjoyed this movie either. I do think Dennis Lehan has written some way better stuff, like Shutter Island, like Gone Baby Gone. Wasn't a huge fan of Mystic River. I do think the drop was a little bit better than that movie, but it just wasn't a very. It was a very underwhelming movie. I guess that's the best way to say it. So, for my positives and negatives of this film, I think there really was some great performances overall. Tom Hardy, Numi Rapace from Prometheus is in this. James Gandolfini, this is one of his last films since before he died. This and Enough Said, which actually was one of my favorite films of last year. So yeah, this film and that film I think were his last two films he did before passing away. Just great performances overall. Acting wise, I had no problem with this movie. I thought acting wise everything was fine. The scenes involving this dog that Tom Hardy rescues from the trash can. There really was some really adorable scenes with him and Numi Rapace really trying to raise this dog, really trying to figure out who's going to raise him. Are they just going to trade off? Are they going to put it up for adoption? Are they going to put it to the Humane Society? Are they going to look around and see who actually wants to raise a dog? And just some really adorable scenes with this dog. Whatever dog they got for the movie was very adorable. So huge thumbs up if you're a dog person. You'll definitely love all of these scenes where Tom Hardy and Numi Rapace are raising this dog who was treated very badly, and it was very adorable seeing these two people, finally giving this dog some love and some care that the dog really needed. I liked how the drop kind of has a tight spaced environment feeling to it. It seems very fitting because this bar that Tom Hardy and James Gandolfini work at, it's a very tight bar. It's a very small bar. There's even a scene where they're watching the Super Bowl at the bar, and it's a very small place. It's not a very big bar at all. And I like how throughout the movie they're always like in like tight spaced homes, tight spaced apartments, tight spaced neighborhoods. They kind of have this reoccurring running theme of all these tight spaced environments, and I really like that theme and that shooting location that they used for this film. It felt very suiting for what they were trying to do. There's also some neat perspective shots in the film. Like you can definitely tell whenever somebody's watching in on somebody, like James Gandolfini watching in on a criminal, or somebody watching in on what Tom Hardy or Noomi Rapace is doing, and just some really neat perspective shots. I like how that whenever they were doing it, you were kind of aware that it was somebody's perspective, and then the next shot immediately would be the person that you just saw the perspective shot from. So I like how they kept using that throughout the film as well. But for my negatives of the film, since I do have quite a few of them, for first and foremost, I thought the drop was way too slow moving. It never really picked up. It was a very slow burn kind of film. And when I say slow burn, I mean it's slow burn the entire time. There really is no full throttle, pedal to the metal kind of vibe to the movie at all. It's very, very slow. So if you really don't like slow moving films, The Drop is not the place to go to. It's just a very, very slow moving movie. I think this film honestly could have been two different movies. I think the whole thing with the dog and the woman could have been its own film. I think the whole thing with Tom Hardy and James Gandolfini dealing with this stolen money for this money drop at this bar. I think that could have been its own film, to be honest. It really felt like they were trying to mesh two different kind of stories together, and as a result, nothing really feels like a whole cohesive one full story. It just kind of feels like two stories that were mashed together into one feature length film. And overall, I will say that, like I was saying earlier, the drop is a very underwhelming experience. It's a very nothing really feels satisfying. Nothing feels like it came to a closure the right way. It doesn't feel very. You felt like you didn't get your money's worth, and I guess that's another way of saying that it's not very good. It's just you don't feel like you got your money's worth of what you were paying for to see that. So I also don't like how The Drop is another one of those films where they make all the cop characters really stupid just to make the plot work. There's just a lot of scenes in this film where the cops show up at the wrong time, or when something is going on, like somebody being killed. No cops are around. Nobody gets punished for it. It just, I feel like there's scenes where either the cops are non existent or they're just too stupid to do their own job in some scenes. So I don't like how films have these purposely stupid, dumb cop characters. I'll also go as far as to say is I thought a lot of the villains in this film are very one dimensional. Um, there's a villain that's connected to the dog in the movie. There's a villain that's connected to this drop gone wrong at the bar, and just really one dimensional villains. Just villains that don't really feel well developed as like Tom Hardy's character, James Gandolfini's character, and things like that. So they really don't feel a sense of threat because these villains are very much in the vein of something you'd already seen, like The Town and things of that nature, and films that have taken on these characters in a much better fashion in an earlier time. So The Drop, you guys, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a flat out terrible film, but it's not a flat out great film either. So it's just kind of in between. It's just there. I really can't see this film going farther than a one-time rental for most people. I think it's one of those films where you rent it once from a Redbox or you rent it once on Netflix, and it doesn't really become anything else more than that. You don't really want to own it. There's no later viewings of it. It's just one of those kind of films where you watch it once and it just kind of disappears after that. So The Drop, 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's okay. If you really want to see it, I would just say go ahead and just rent it when it reaches to Redbox or when it gets to Netflix eventually. It's not really worth your time seeing in the theater for, I don't think. So The Drop, it's an okay film.